Welcome back to Gen X Countdown, everybody. You know what's absolutely wild about the 80s and 90s? That parents genuinely thought animation was automatically kid-friendly. I mean, Saturday morning cartoons, what's more noble? Humble. Hell, heartwarming. But we're talking about an era where executives looked at exploding heads, chainsaw massacres, and grotesque body horror and went, you know what, yeah, slap some bright colors on it and call it edgy animation. Before the rating system had any real teeth and streaming services existed to properly categorize content, animators were just throwing whatever twisted, chaotic thoughts they had directly at unsuspecting children. So buckle up, because we're taking a ride through the 10 most traumatizing animated features that make you question every parenting decision your folks made in the VHS and cable era. This one ain't for kids. We're going to start off kind of cool, right? This is Nickelodeon. What can go wrong on Nickelodeon? It's the Ren and Stimpy show. I guess that's what could go wrong. 1991. And Nickelodeon executives thought they were getting a quirky kids cartoon about a chihuahua and a cat. And instead they got psychological warfare disguised as slapstick comedy. They delivered episodes featuring saw blades to the face, extreme close-ups of rotting teeth, and I bet as I say it, you could picture that episode, and enough Freudian subtext to make your therapist rich. The show's infamous adult party cartoon episodes were so unhinged that several got yanked from the air entirely. Now here's the wild part. This was airing at prime after-school hours when kids were grabbing snacks and settling in for some harmless cartoon fun. Parents would walk into the living room to find their children staring slack-jawed at scenes of Ren threatening to bash Stimpy's skull in with a hammer. I mean, this aired alongside Doug and the Rugrats. The show's legacy? It basically rewrote what children's programming could get away with, paving the way for everything from SpongeBob's darker moments to Adventure Time's beautiful apocalyptic LSD storyline. Man, I love Adventure Time.
Megatron must be stopped, no matter the cost.
Now that song's in my head, right? Adventure Time, come on, grab your friends, it's time for it. Anyway, Transformers the movie 1986. Here's where things get traumatic. Hasbro and Sunbow Productions decided to kill off the most beloved character in the franchise within the first 30 minutes. Optimus Prime's death scene wasn't just a plot twist. It was a full-scale emotional carpet bombing of every kid who thought their robot heroes were invincible. The movie opens with Megatron literally blasting Prime full of holes, while dramatic music swells, and suddenly every 8-year-old in America learned about mortality in the hardest way possible. The backlash was swift and it was brutal. Parents wrote angry letters, theaters reported children crying uncontrollably, and Hasbro quietly toned down the death scenes in every subsequent animated film, as they probably should. The movie was supposed to clear shelf space for new toy lines, in the worst way, but instead it created a generation of kids who approached every animated feature with trust issues. Those kids are us. They actually had to reshoot the ending because test audiences of children were so traumatized by the original version that focus groups turned into straight-up therapy sessions. You knew this one was going to be here. Number 8, INHUMANOIDS, 1986. Just let this sink in. Someone at Sunbow Productions looked at melting human skin, giant skeletal monsters, and people getting swallowed alive and thought, you know what, this is perfect. Let's air this at 6 a.m., I don't know, Saturday mornings, right around Smurfs. INHUMANOIDS was basically The Thing meets Godzilla, but marketed to kids who were probably still eating cereal in their pajamas. The show featured body horror that would make David Cronenberg proud, including scenes of the villain decomposed, literally rotting people from the inside out. I don't know how that translates to Saturday morning cartoons, but it do. The controversy was immediate and intense. Local TV stations started burying episodes in pre-dawn time slots or dropping the series entirely after parent complaints flooded in. The show's creator was apparently going for scary but not too scary, but somehow landed on existential nightmare fuel. The fact that this was tied to a toy line makes it even more surreal. Imagine trying to sell action figures of monsters that graphically devour human beings to elementary school kids. I'll be honest, we all bought them. This is a formative fave of mine. Heavy Metal 1981. So get ready for this one. I mean, Heavy Metal was an R-rated animated anthology that somehow convinced parents it was just a sci-fi cartoon at the VHS store, at Blockbuster, at what have you, Family Video. The film packed in sword-splitting gore, alien decapitations, and enough topless warrior women to stock a Frank Frazetta art gallery. Based on the adult comic magazine, the movie featured segments where heroes literally slice enemies in half with fountains of blood, but the animation style made it look deceptively family-friendly from a distance, through a haze, from a room away. The real chaos happened when it hit home video. Video store clerks reported countless incidents of parents renting it for family movie night, only to frantically hit the stop button when the opening credits rolled over a scene of a zombie astronaut. It's too spicy for television broadcast. Heavy metal became an underground cult legend through VHS bootleg and late night cable showings. This was one of my first, you can animate that? Moments as a kid watching this on a VHS in Jeff's basement. We were nailing the pause button left and right, and it wasn't for the gore, my friends. This is 1993, and Ninja Scroll hit American video stores with an unrated release, right when anime was starting to go mainstream. Western audiences expected something like Saturday morning cartoons, but instead got limbs flying, demons ripping people apart, and fight scenes that redefine animated violence. The film's protagonist, Jubei, doesn't just defeat enemies. Man, he turns them into abstract art projects with his blade work, all rendered in gorgeous, fluid animation that made the carnage oddly beautiful. The movie triggered a nationwide, wait, this is a cartoon? Moment at video stores across America. Parents who grabbed it thinking it was kid-friendly samurai adventures got a crash course in Japanese animation's capacity for mature storytelling. Ninja Scroll became a gateway drug for Western audiences, discovering that anime could be sophisticated, it could be artistic, and absolutely not appropriate for children. The film's impact was so significant that it basically established the template for how brutal animated action could be while still maintaining artistic credibility. Violence Jack, 1986 to 1990. Just let that sink in. They literally put violence in the title, and somehow people were still surprised by the content. This post-apocalyptic anime series followed cannibal gangs, chainsaw beheadings, and enough nihilistic brutality to make Mad Max look like a Disney film. Based on Go Nagai's manga, the OVA series, and OVA, I didn't know what this meant, original video animation, or basically, we just made this for video. It pushed animated violence to absolute extremes, with scenes of characters being torn apart in ways that would make horror movie directors uncomfortable. The international response was swift and severe, as it always is. Several countries banned or heavily censored the series, with UK customs officials literally seizing copies of this at the border, like fireworks from Indiana. The show's reputation became so notorious that it ended up on banned anime lists alongside actual illegal content. Violence Jack represents the absolute extreme end of what animated violence could be. A reminder that just because something is drawn, it does not mean it's appropriate for anyone under 18, or maybe anyone at all, to be honest. This next one, here's the thing, most of us have read this book, Watership Down. British censors looked at a movie about rabbits engaging in blood-soaked territorial warfare and gave it a family rating. Watership Down starts cute enough. I mean, it's got adorable animated bunnies, and they're hopping through this pastoral English countryside, but they quickly devolve into a brutal survival story featuring graphic death scenes, psychological trauma, and enough rabbit-on-rabbit violence to traumatize multiple generations of children. The film's most infamous scene involves the rabbit warren being destroyed by bulldozers, with graphic depictions of animals being buried alive or crushed to death. Parents who took their kids expecting a gentle animal adventure instead got a meditation on mortality, and environmental destruction, and the brutal realities of nature, and all that jazz. But the movie's legacy includes decades of bedtime nightmares and a generation of adults who still can't look at cute cartoon rabbits without having flashbacks. Richard Adams' source novel was always dark, but seeing it animated somehow made the violence more immediate and traumatic. Especially for me. Urotsukidoji, I'm only going to say that once. Legend of the Overfiend, 1989, That was the US release. And here's where things get absolutely unhinged. This anime combined extreme gore with explicit body horror in ways that launched the entire hentai panic in Western countries. The film features demons, tentacles, and transformations that are simultaneously too graphic to describe and too bizarre to believe. When it hit American shores, it didn't just push boundaries. I mean, it obliterated them. They didn't exist, creating a new category of definitely not for kids animation. And the controversy was immediate and international, as we've seen. UK customs officials again seized copies at the borders, and several countries just banned it outright. It still appears on banned anime lists decades later. The film's notoriety stems from its combination of high-quality animation that makes most R-rated movies look lame by comparison. It basically became the poster child for why we need better content warnings on animated features, proving that just because something is drawn doesn't mean it's appropriate for general audiences. Most copies of this today, you'll find, are wildly edited, and original copies are rare, and if you could find them, man, they are pricey as hell. This one may be more, I guess, mainstream or memorable to most. It's Akira. And this is 1988, and this was a theatrical release that redefined what Western audiences thought animation films could be. The movie features bike gang carnage, psychic body horror, and enough exploding guts to fill a medical textbook. But it's all rendered in animation so stunning that it made the violence almost hypnotic. The masterpiece wasn't hiding its mature content. It was celebrating its legitimacy as artistic expression. That's the best way I could put it, I guess. It was beautiful. The animation, like as I'm talking, I could picture it, and I'm going to pull the clips later. The cultural impact was seismic, right? Western theaters that expected another Disney-style family film instead got cyberpunk body horror that made grown adults uncomfortable. The movie's famous transformation scenes where characters literally explode into massive, grotesque forms becomes iconic precisely because they were so shocking to audiences. Akira proved that animation could be a serious artistic medium for adult storytelling, but it also traumatized countless viewers who weren't prepared for just how serious things could get. Man, I love this one. 1984 to 1987, so let's get ready for the ultimate animated violence experience, and that is Fist of the North Star, and it made exploding heads a weekly television event. The series featured protagonist Kenshiro dispatching enemies with martial arts techniques that caused them to literally burst like water balloons, all while delivering his iconic catchphrase, "You are already dead." Every episode was basically a contest to see how many creative ways they could animate human bodies just falling apart. The show's reputation became playground legend in America. While US television broadcasts were heavily edited and blurred, the uncut VHS tapes made the holy grail of underground anime trading. Kids would pass around dub copies like they were handling radioactive material, gathering in basements to watch scenes of violence so over the top that they transcended shock and became almost comedic. The series' influence on anime violence cannot be overstated. It established the template for how far animated combat could go while still maintaining a weekly television format. These shows and movies didn't just push boundaries, they obliterated them entirely, creating a generation of viewers who learned to read content warnings very, very carefully. Some of these were created right here in the USA, and others were imported, edited, and unedited, causing a rush of adrenaline and dopamine every time you heard someone had a copy. I'd be interested to learn what you guys got into. For me, it was heavy metal, Ren and Stimpy, Brothers Grimm. I think that might have been on MTV. Those are my mainstays. I'm sure there are others that delved much, much deeper than that in the 80s and 90s. Hit it up in the comments. I'd love to talk about it. Looking for you there. Thanks for taking this ride with me. And as always, everybody, please, above all, stay cool.